Today we're going to be talking about one of the two Rebel off-road Gladiators that we brought along on the Continental Divide. We're going to break it up a little bit and talk about some of the equipment that actually help us conquer the Continental Divide and get the whole way to Canada and back safely. Yeah, both of the Gladiators are orange, but this is the painted one, the other one's wrapped, and we'll break them down. On the front we actually have our Summit Series bumper, and we also have a worn winch inside of here. That's a 9,000 pound winch. We have our skid underneath, and of course we have, this is our low hoop. They're steel bumpers. You know, these are heavy vehicles. If you do smack into something, you really want it to be able to hold up. Lights wise, well, on the front you've got some different lights here. These are the KC lights. On both of the rigs we have KC lights. This is the Flex Era 4s, and these are the Flex Era 3s. Since doing the Continental Divide, we've been doing some product testing with KC HiLiTES. Look for these coming soon for you guys. We're running the G2 lights over here. These are fog lights, and they're DOT fog lights as well. Some of the highlights, of course, in the bumpers is the fact we're going to have shackle tabs, etc. Make it very, very, very strong, and let you take the impacts in case you come across cows or some other animal. On this Gladiator, we're running a Rebel Off-Road DSS coilover and bypass system. It's our dual shock system, and it helps control the ride immensely, especially with how heavy the vehicles tend to get when we are prepping and have a lot of equipment on them. Up front there, we're running a Currie, that's a 60 housing. It is fantastic. It gives us a lot of strength, and it gives you a lot of confidence when you're driving to know that you've got a very strong axle up there. So the odds of anything going wrong are pretty much slim to none. Also on there, you're going to have the Jock sway bars. We love the Jock sway bars. They give you good sway control and also give you fantastic wheel travel. So very important, especially when you're trying to do some of the trips we're on there where some of the roads are pretty high speed, and ideally being able to slow it down a little bit. Watch the body roll. That's what that anti-rock does. When it comes to wheel and tire package, that's a KMC 17-inch wheel. It is a true bead lock. I'm a big fan of true bead locks, so letting me air down all the way down to, you know, in the single digits. As far as the tire goes, that's a Nitto Trail Grappler. It's a 40-inch tire, and I'll tell you what, the confidence that they give you driving on a nice, big, strong tire. You know, we have a spare one on the roof. We didn't even have to use that in the entire trip. So, big fan of them. So up on the top we have our Rebel Off-Road Halo rack, and the lights that are on the front there, those are the Pro 6 KCs. Big fan of them, and they work incredibly well, put out so much light. We also run them also on the A-pillars, and you know, these are the wide angle ones on the A-pillars, so it gives us really a good cut across to see what's coming on the other sides. It's very handy, I tell you what, when it came to you know, animals and traveling late at night, being able to, you know, to spot them quite a ways out and make sure that we didn't smack them. So big fan there. Now, since this Gladiator does sit a little bit taller, the fact that it's on 40s, etc., coilovers, well, to get in and out of it, we've got the Rockslide Engineering steps. They work like an absolute champion, didn't have any hiccups no matter what we were driving through. Very, very, very happy with them. And of course, as I said, it's a big step up there without that. So, really enjoy having them on the vehicle. Up on the top of the Gladiator, both in the front and the back, we're running Halo roof racks, our Rebel Off-Road Halo racks, and we actually set them up so that you can remove the Freedom panels without having to take the roof rack off. In addition to that, you see some Pelican cases up there on the front. Well, that's so that we can store our bear repellent to keep the bears away, shall we say. On the bed rack, we also have a Halo roof rack. Mounted up on top of that is another Pelican case. That's one of their new ones that they've just released, and we're doing some product testing with them on those. As far as the tire goes, yep, that's a 40-inch spare all the way up there. It's very securely mounted. In addition to that, you're going to see a couple of different antennas up there, actually 3 of them. One's for a CB, the other one is actually for a satellite telephone, very important for communications, and the other one is our race radio for vehicle-to-vehicle communications. As far as the back suspension goes, we're running our Discovery Series arms. It's part of our full kit that we run for the Gladiators. Obviously, we don't run leaf springs on this. This is a Gladiator. It's got coil springs and King shocks on the back here. They're fully adjustable. In addition to that, we have a Jock sway bar on the back. This is actually one of the very first prototypes. We've been doing a lot of testing with them. Very happy with them. Again, the stability it gives you when you're off-road, giving you both wheel travel as well as control when driving, make a world of difference. Underneath the rear of this Gladiator, we're running a fabricated Currie 9-inch housing. Super strong, super beefy, and super cool looking too. If you have a look under there, you'll see just how this thing is shaped and fabricated. It's a piece of artwork. On the outsides, of course, we need some stopping power. We're running like F250 brakes on this particular vehicle. Makes it just slow down that much better. Those are one of the options that are available with the axle housings too. We're running our Summit Series JT rear bumper, and we've incorporated a whole bunch of very cool features into it, including slider steps for the sides, give you tons of protection, and also act not just as a slider but as a step to help you get up on top. In addition to helping you get up on top is, of course, we've got these large cutouts which are footholds. You can put your big work boot inside of there, and even a ski boot fits inside of there to help you climb up on top of the Gladiator. We've also incorporated our D-shackles mounts, and those actually tie directly into the frame. So it's an incredibly strong point to pull from. We actually like the look of this as opposed to running a factory hook. And in addition to that, a factory hook, a strap can slip off. When you're running a D-shackle, you're not going to be slipping off. We've also got ties in for your factory tow hitch and your license plate. And you can still use your factory tow hitch wiring as well, as you can see it here. This is our Gladiator XPLOR bed rack system, and it is completely modular. One of the things that on this particular trip that really stood out was just how universal it is and how usable it is. So, I mean, over here I've got Rotopax mounted to them. I've got an axe and a shovel. We've got Rhino rack mounts that we use over here. These particular carrier plates can be mounted anywhere. You can double them up, you can triple them up, you can quadruple them up and put them all over it. You can cover it in them. As we work around the back here, we've got KC lights both on the side, giving us some fantastic side light, and then we run some ambers on the back for dust. We've also got an additional chase light on the back. I've got my propane tank inside of here. I've got some medical equipment on this side. I do carry a chainsaw, and for this trip I actually used an electric chainsaw because we're changing elevation so much. So I had a chainsaw, a battery charger, and a spare battery that we take along, and that's an Echo one. It's really strong. I've used it for at a lot of different altitudes, and I've used it to cut up some pretty decent wood. As you will see, we're even cutting up some dogwood in one of the episodes. On the back, we actually have a headache rack, and the headache rack is designed so that when if there is any goods inside of the back, if you did have an issue and that stuff was to move forward, it's not coming through your fiberglass roof of your Gladiator. Up on the top, we've got our table mount, and as I said, when it comes to camping tables, I really dislike small, flimsy camping tables. This is a lifetime table. It actually folds out. This is 4 foot, folds out to about 7 feet, so it's really large, gives you a huge cooking surface and a huge prep surface as well. On the other side, we have another Pelican case mounted inside of there. Now, all of these cases are actually on quick pulls, so we can get them out really fast when it comes to medical equipment. We wanted to make sure that we have our bases very well covered. We're also running a high lift jack on the other side over here. It's very handy. It's a 48-inch one, and we use it for all sorts of different things, whether it be jacking up vehicles or use it for as a come-along if you needed to. Now, sometimes you're wondering, well, how do we mount these lights on here? Well, we make a lot of different brackets so that you can mount things both on the inside and on the outside and pretty much all over your rack. This is a full height rack. The other Gladiator's got a half height rack on there. But in addition to that, we've got these mounting brackets. You can use them for lights. You can use them for communications, such as antennas. And we have lots of different accessories that we can mount on top of these, including, of course, as you see, our Halo roof rack up there. Moving across to the driver's side here, well, there's lots of different options that we offer. There's bike mounts, etc. But for this particular trip, we want to do a bunch of fishing. So we're using the Rhino rack fishing mounts. And of course, you can position them anywhere you want. We're using carrier plates here, and we're using top channels here. You can kind of put them anywhere you want on this vehicle, on our racks. And yeah, fishing poles, man, we had a great old time trying to catch fish. Now, weren't so successful at certain places, other places we did better. So now we're inside the Gladiator. I want to talk a little bit about what we use for communications as well as navigation. We like a system called Gaia, and it's available for your iPad, etc., or some type of a mobile device. We run it on an iPad mini, which is mounted and hardwired. The rear view mirror is not very useful, especially when you got a Jeep full of goodies in the back. So we run our GPS up here. We run a lot of RAM mounts inside of the top of the vehicle up here. We've got one for the cell phone. In addition to that, we have our sPOD system. Now, this particular Jeep, I'm running 2 sPODs on it, one up front, one in the back. We have a lot of different accessories on it. There's a lot of lights in it. There's lights in the back, lights at the side, etc. So being able to control all of that, as well as power up the rear of the vehicle, is very important. With this system here, I can actually control both sPODs, the front and the rear, separately, independently, and all the different accessories that we're running. But I'm a huge fan of having an iPad up here. It's the mini, and it's very easy for me to see. It's not in the way. I can turn up the light. I can turn down the light, so that you're not just sitting there getting blinded as you're driving, especially if it's getting later on into the evening time. Communication-wise, we do try and keep it simple. We use race radios, And the race radio, it's, you know, we get some very good distance out of them. Sometimes we can get up to 30 plus miles out of them, and actually sometimes a lot more than that. But for what we're doing, you know, the vehicles get spread out. We get a lot of dust as we're traveling, so it's really nice to be able to spread those vehicles out, keep the rocks down, keep the dust down, and yeah, having a race radio, world of difference. I mount my race radio actually in my center console, and what I do is I run a speaker underneath the driver's side so that I can actually close it up. It's inside the glove box, it's hidden. I run the mic on a mount, so I can always get to it, and that mic runs actually through the center console as well. Everything is plugged in, it's ready to go, it's very easy to use. There's nothing, you're not reaching for anything, you're not fumbling. So these are the types of things you want to keep in mind when you're setting up the interior of yours. So that's it as far as the interior goes. We don't have to get too crazy on it. I like keeping it simple. I like having very strong mounts, which is why we use the RAM mounts. We use the Carolina Metal Masters mounts that mount onto the actual tops and bottoms of the on the A-pillars, on the grab handles, and they're incredibly strong. So there you go.